Hello viewers, this is Bhavana and I welcome you all to 19 Influencers to talk on the COVID-19 series in association with TechXP. Today we have with us an influencer from the co-working space in the Indian subcontinent. An alumnus of the Indian School of Business, my next guest is an expert in strategic partnerships with past stints in lending cards, Snapdeal, IBM and Accenture. Viewers, I bring to you none other than Head of Sales for WeWork in India, Varun Gopinath. So Varun, firstly, a very, very warm welcome and thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Bhavana. Always been a pleasure having a conversation with you.
Pleasure. So Varun, first up for my first question. Now, the viewers would like to know, is that how is the co-working industry dealing with this crisis currently?
So Bhavana, I think it's not just the co-working industry. COVID has impacted each and every industry around the country as well as around the globe. The prevailing crisis will, I think, typically give rise to a lot of new innovative solutions, which should come up with COVID moving out in the next 3 to 6 months. I think the biggest impact will be in terms of safety and hygiene, so that safety and hygiene becomes paramount in all the discussions that we have in the future with members as well as with clients. I think this situation is also going to force a lot of companies to reassess the way they do business today, look at their business models, and also to adjust themselves to a new paradigm in terms of working, whether it is in flexible workspaces, whether it's working from home, whether it is trying to look at how everyone needs to be in the same city or different cities for businesses to be successful. I think even from an employee standpoint, or say from a personal standpoint, you're going to have a lot of new people coming up and putting more emphasis on higher demands for standards of health, for hygiene. And this can potentially become a very big deal breaker when people are trying to bring in the best talent into their workforce. I think, at least my gut feel is that the post-COVID situation, at least for co-working industry, is going to be a very big opportunity, because there will be a lot of flexible workspaces that the industry can provide to larger as well as smaller companies.
Sure. Great answer right there, Varun, and thank you for your key insights. Now, for my second question, what do you feel are the changes and the opportunity that the co-working industry shall witness 6 to 12 months down the line? Varun, what's your take on that?
I think it's going to be a very interesting time in the next 6 to 12 months. At least the view that I've had after a lot of discussions with my counterparts in China, in Europe, in US, is more about trying to see what are the decisions or what are the key points that large companies will have in their minds when they're trying to reassess their real estate needs. I think one point that everybody should look at would be asset optimization and diversification. This primarily means that companies will now start considering intercity as well as intracity, multi-location strategies to ensure that there is business continuity, right? Whether it is in the form of BCPs or whether it's in the form of spreading out your offices across different locations. I think that becomes one key element that all companies will think about. Number two would be workplace flexibility. What I mean by this is that because of COVID and because of a lot of changes that is happening right now, everybody has cash conservation as one of the key metrics to track on. Cash is the king right now. And people would want to prefer real estate options that guarantee future agility through lower capital expenditures, say through flexible lease terms, and also by having an option to upsize and downsize your workspace, depending on how your business is scaling up.
Sure.
I think the third point would be safety and hygiene. Safety and hygiene will redefine your product and operation strategy, which means that we are going to have a lot of companies come up with additional cleaning measures, safety measures. Absolutely. This might increase your operational expenses, but that would become a must-have in every scenario. You're going to have a lot of design changes in terms of collaborative areas, common areas, that will identify and allow people to work together and apart at the same time. And I think there's going to be a higher adoption of technology, sure, which, WeWork has been at the forefront in adopting a lot of technology in our workspaces. but I feel that there is going to be a lot more, there are a lot of other companies are going to use during this period. Um, I think the fourth point would typically be about your real estate planning. So from a real estate head, CEO, CFO standpoint, your real estate planning will focus on a combined solution of having a core space, which is your HQ, a flex space, as well as work from home, right? We've seen a lot of reports coming in the media that says we're going to increase work from home from 20% to 50% and things like that. I'm not sure about the number of 50%, but I still feel that there is going to be a proportion of people on work from home. Companies would also have a proportion of their workforce working out of flexible workspaces, right? Um, there's an interesting thing that I was reading recently wherein people are saying that you are going to see a lot more changes coming in, even from a residential housing standpoint, which means that with so much of vacant residential inventory remaining, you will have some landlords or some providers trying to provide, say, residential setups as a pay as you go workplace setup model, right? And the innovation in this space is far more. People would want spaces which are close by residential hubs that allows their employees to travel less. And by these means, even productivity can be tracked. My last point is typically on co-working. I think co-working as a solution will become even more important for stagnant commercial real estate. So you have so much of commercial real estate, say across grade B, grade A, and grade C properties. What would typically happen is that co-working, which provides flexibility, which will enable landlords to provide ready to move in spaces, will make a great partnership opportunity for landlords as well as co-working players, which means people will now be able to optimize on the kind of resources and assets that they have. So I think, yeah, I think a lot of positive uh, inputs and influences can come in the next 6 to 12 months.
That's a brilliant answer right there, Varun. Now, moving on to my next question is that you've spoken so much about the challenges and the changes which will happen, let's say, in the co-working industry. Now, what are your plans, Varun, to come out of this situation? What's your planning there?
Bhavana, at WeWork, we are very pro our members. We're very pro our clients, right? So for us, customer success is the heart of every decision that we make as a business.
Sure.
What we've done is we've ensured that all our spaces are ready and equipped to serve all our members. And that has remained to be our topmost priority. We are constantly having conversations with our members, with our clients. We're reviewing the feedback. We're working with industry partners, trying to identify the best key measures that we can apply across our buildings. I foresee that, all the measures that we've taken fall under four critical buckets. Number one would be access. Access to our locations, access to our buildings, access to offices. That's bucket number one.
Sure.
Bucket number two would be hygiene as well as safety, right? What are we doing towards hygiene and safety? Number three is social distancing, that we allow our members to follow social distancing. Plus, we are also following the mandates that come from governments, state as well as central. And last but not the least is risk mitigation measures. So what is it that we can do to ensure that our members remain safe within our spaces and even outside our spaces, right? So some key points that fall under these buckets is what we are instituting is mandatory temperature screenings outside all our buildings so that all members and employees will have to go through that check even before entering our buildings. Our buildings are being totally fumigated. Cleaning and sanitization schedules have also increased in terms of keeping the safe clean and hygienic. We are increasing the frequency of cleaning on all the high touch points. High touch points would be your lift buttons, pantry areas, doorknobs, opening doors for all the offices and areas like that. We are encouraging all our members and employees, as well as vendor personnel, to strictly adhere to the social distancing norm. So we've split out markers in our spaces, which define the 6 feet distance that everybody has to maintain with each other. For the time being, we are suspending all internal and external events. We are redesigning our common areas, meeting rooms, so that you don't have too many people crowding up the spaces out there. And lastly, we are restricting our business hours basis the mandate that governments are setting up, which would mean that once you enter our space, you can be rest assured that everything is going to be safe. And as a member, your health and safety will be our topmost priority.
Varun, that's incredible planning right there. And I'm sure the viewers would have benefited with that question. Now, for my concluding question is that what is that one advice, Varun, you would like to give to the viewers that you think can be helpful in times like this to keep them motivated and going?
So, Bhavana, this is a fairly interesting question, right? I keep having conversations with my team, which is spread across multiple cities within India. And when I think deeply about this, the point that I realize which is most important is for us to be positive and happy, right? The biggest advice is always to be positive and happy because things might not look good today, but there is always a silver lining in terms of whatever situation we are presented with. I think we should always try and focus on things which are under our control and let go of the things that we cannot influence. See, COVID as a situation is not something that we as people can influence. It's not going to stop the next month or the month after. What we can do is set up the right measures, follow the right norms, and ensure our friends and family are safe.
That's
And amidst all the chaos that we are in, we need to understand that having the right mentality as well as a right routine in these times is very important. What people miss out is since everybody is working out of home,
Mhm.
uh, your sleeping timings are going to go haywire. Your eating timings are going to go haywire. You might not be spending enough time on keeping yourself fit. But if
Sure.
you follow a regime that you would follow at any normal day outside of the COVID situation, I think a lot of things can get streamlined.
Sure. So thank you so much, Varun. It was incredible having you in the episode today. And I'm sure the viewers would be excited to know what the co-working industry has in play for the next 6 to 12 months down the line, and also what measures you all are taking. So thank you once again, and thank you for joining in.
Thank you, Bhavna. Thank you so much for having me.